Welcome to What Works for Women at Work. I'm your host, Evelyn Axelrod, and this season I'm talking to bold and accomplished women who are ready to spill the secrets to their incredible success. Come join me and unlock the doors to your leadership breakthrough. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What Works for Women at Work. Today, I'm with Taranum Khan, and we've been here talking about mindset and resilience. And I want you to hear directly from her. Taranum, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, Evelyn, thank you so much for having me. It's just a pleasure to be talking to you this morning. Um, a little bit about me. Let me start by saying I am a daughter, a wife, a mother. I am somebody who is a driven career professional. I have in me an author, an artist, and a creative. So in a nutshell, I'm just a person. And I know you talk about leadership, and just like every other woman that I know, and for that matter, do not know, I'm a leader. So that's me in a nutshell.
I've been thinking about that word leader, and I've been thinking about that it often is confused with titles and how much that is wrong, that we should not be looking at titles as a way to demonstrate leadership skills. Um, what's your definition of leadership?
Leadership is an act.
Mhm.
Leadership is doing right by you and by people that you engage with. And when I say that with a lot of humility. This was a lesson that I learned early on in my childhood from my father, that titles have nothing to do with leadership. It is how you approach life. It is how you approach your environment, whether it's a personal space or a professional space. It's all about making sure that you are doing the right thing while ensuring that people around you are taken care of. And as women, I know we do it all the time.
Hmm. When I think about leadership, I mean, there have been so many studies and they have, sort of categorized leadership in terms of self, which you've talked about doing the right thing in the moment with the information you have. So they talk about self, they talk about others, leading others, being there for others, supporting others, facilitating success for others, um, and organizations. And that's, I think, why we end up tying the word leadership to these titles, because you see these hierarchies in organizations, right? But it really, for me, when we think about leadership from an organizational perspective, it's the impact that organization makes and on the lives of the employees, on the lives of the customers, on the lives of the community. I like to expand that sort of definition from the three pillars of leadership to a fourth one. For me, it's about community, it's about your network, and how you show up within that community.
I am 100% aligned with you on that. Um, as a leader, you build a community around you and you support the community that you work, you live in every whichever way possible. So while when we talk about organizations, The leadership is a structure,
Mm.
or an organization. It's structural. It's the the titles or the positions, but not necessarily so for when we talk about people that work in that organization. So you could have the junior most employee, or for that matter, even an intern or a co-op student that can be shaping the culture of that organization with the initiative, the drive, the actions that they take, and the skill sets that they bring, and making a positive impact. So as long as the organization is smart, or as long as a organization is accepting and recognizes these these assets that this individual is bringing, they will know that they have a leader within them. You know how this is a very it's a very common statement that that one comes across. Not all heroes wear capes, right? So not all leaders have titles,
Yeah,
and you do not need a title to be a leader.
absolutely.
It's how you respond to situations that you're in that showcases how much of a leader you are, and how much more, or how you will grow into that leadership position.
You've been a leader from early in your career, in post-secondary, where you grew through the ranks in post-secondary. You've worked in nonprofits. Now you're working for a large private sector organization too. So tell us a little bit about your career and some of the learnings that you've had through your career.
It's oh wow. So I'm spanning over, I would say, 2 decades here now. So started at a very young age, and with the university as a as an assistant registrar. I was 28 at that time, and I went into a position knowing full well that there were no other women. I was the first woman to be selected in an administrative position at that university. The thought was women would not be able to do well in administrative roles. They are meant for more academic positions. And honestly, there were two positions that I could have applied to, I qualified for. They even put it in front of me saying, why did you not apply for the professorship? I'm like, that's not me. I'm as an individual, as a professional, I see myself in an administrative role where I will be able to contribute more with the way I plan and organize and conduct myself. And I don't see myself as a teacher. I can teach, but doesn't mean that I want to. So, as I was sharing with you earlier, I'm very intentional with the opportunities that I choose in my personal life as well as in my professional space. So I always look at opportunities and think, is this something that I want to do? Or is this something that I need to do? I always gravitate towards things that I want to do, because then they're not a burden. They're not something that somebody else is forcing me towards, or circumstances or environment or life or whatever have you is forcing me towards. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I just, because I'm passionate about it, I will leave no stones unturned to be successful and perform and deliver in that position and in that role. So when I started out, as I was telling you, I was told, oh, but we've not hired any women in this role, and it requires extra hours. And the last statement that was made was like, no pressure at all. If you were to be selected in this position, um, based on your performance, we will decide and determine if ever women can be hired in that role. Yeah, I'm being honest. It's that was what I was told. They took a chance with me, which I'm grateful for. And 5 years down the line, there were 7 women that were hired um, at various times in those positions. So I think I must have done something right, and they
Wow,
saw they saw
that's a
that
lot of pressure.
it was. I will also tell you one thing. I was successful because of a leader that was a woman and that gave me the skill sets to be successful. I can never, I've been very, 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 very blessed when it comes to coaches and mentors and supervisors who have helped me learn and grow, and they've nurtured me so well and trained me so well. So my first appointment, I was working at the Center for Lifelong Learning at the university, and my my director and my mentor was Dr. Poonam Dhawan. I can never forget, she had this question for me. Taranum, what do you want to be known for? Think about it. I want you to take your time to think about what do you want to be known for. And as a woman, please remember, these were her words, as a woman, please remember, to prove yourself and your competence, you will have to work twice as hard. There are easy ways out and there are hard ways out. The choice rests with you. So make that choice and then follow through. Oh my God, what a lesson that was. I chose to learn and take the harder path of making sure that I performed every single step of the way. Um, I've had a trailblazing clear career at the university. I can promise you there are people who remember me by my name, and I still have friends, and I still have um, supervisors who will vouch by me. I'm still in contact with them to this day, and we share amazing relationships, despite the fact that there were times when our opinions were not the same, but we were respectful of each other. But we were always understanding that there was a bigger picture, there was a bigger reason behind um, that difference of opinion. And it was always for the betterment of the organization and the people that worked there that we were taking stands for.
Wow. I want to pull a couple of threads, which one to choose first. You talk about these coaches that you've been blessed to have. And then you talk about relationships. So I'll connect those two. How important would you say is it to build those relationships? And how do you go about early in your career building those relationships? Um, and then we'll come back to that other piece around communicating things that you don't necessarily agree with. Talk to us about building relationships.
Relationships have been key as far as I'm concerned, both in my personal and my professional space. I'm somebody who excels at relationships, I would say. I'm known as a relator, whether it's building relationships or maintaining them professionally. Especially in the professional space, I'm also known as a connector. I value people and the skill sets they bring into an organization. I believe in recognizing those and not being intimidated by them. As a leader, it's very important to remember that, because you can never grow as a leader if you're not open to learning.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to learn from people, you will share good relationships with them. I believe it's a gift to be able to open up yourself to new ideas or newer way of looking at things. And if you're open to that, you are naturally somebody that people can trust, people can connect with, people can relate with, people will like you for that. So it's important that one practices mindfulness when going into these relationship building activities. So it all starts with listening. First of all, you have to be open to listening to what the other person has to say and not shut them down even before they've said their piece. Because unless you listen, what they're bringing to you, you will not be able to make a call whether this gift of conversation that they have given you is something that you can take, set aside, or utilize. So there are three ways of looking at a conversation. There's nothing that is not useful. The only difference is this useful for me right now? Is this something that I can, for now, put in the parking lot and come back to it later? Or this is going to be something that I'm going to use in the future? So for me, this is where it all starts. As long as I see, and again, I follow my intuition and my gut when it comes to this. As long as I see this person has the same values, the same motivation as myself, they are grounded, they believe in similar spiritual or professional value sets, then I'm fine. And then that chemistry is there. And that is where I will start nurturing my relationship with them. First, by listening to them, then sharing my ideas with them, and seeing where they're at in terms of what are they doing with what the sharing that I am giving them.
You're just adding so many light bulbs to my mind right now. When you talk about, I mean, the fact that you started your career in the center of lifelong learning tells us everything. But also just thinking about a conversation I had with Maisha Boyd, one of our last a couple of last guests, and she talked about every position that she took on. It was a learning position. And she never talked about the title. She never talked about the new sort of career growth. I was excited to take on this new learning position. And when we look at things that way, we no longer have to be the experts. We come at it with sort of an open mind to absorb the information from these people around us. And you say things like you see their value, you recognize their skill sets. And now this takes me into networking and building relationship with people, which you are a master at. But it comes from a really authentic place of getting to know people and understand their outlook. And
Absolutely.
oh my gosh. And then you decide the information that they're sharing, when will this be useful for me? It's no longer if it's useful, it's when it will be useful for me. I mean, thank you. This is awesome stuff you're sharing.
The one thing that I always say, Eve, in all of this is more important than learning what to do, even more important than that is learning what not to do.
Mm.
what will work for me is not necessarily the same as what will work for you, right? To be able to agree, to disagree, to be able to respect the person's opinion and their knowledge and their wisdom is very important, even if you do not agree with them. You have to stay away from ego.
I love that.
You have to stay away from, oh, how dare they not listen to what I had to say? How dare they not agree to my viewpoint? It should never be about you. As long as, and that is the reason you are not having to deal with it at your organization, because people are not making it about themselves. The bigger picture is what is good for the organization, what is good for either the clients you're serving or the customers you're serving, and what is the outcome that you're looking for. If you're aligned on the outcome, the ego will not be an issue, and the I will not become the problem. You will be able to see beyond the person. You will be able to focus on the idea that is being brought forward.
Love it. I love it. I love it. When we talk again about you're trying to lead an organization and you're having this exchange of ideas, it's not about the I, it's not about you, it's about those you're trying to impact. And
Absolutely.
and when you're aligned, like you said, it never becomes a conflict. It becomes what's good for our beneficiaries.
It becomes a conversation,
Yeah,
and it is out of conversations that you build relationships.
I love it. Now, how do we help women who's listening to us get themselves out of, because they might be in teams and environments where conflicts happening all the time.
It will happen.
Yeah.
It's normal. Think about a home situation. Do you not have conflict or arguments with your family members? Have you never had arguments with your friends or acquaintances? That's normal. Where there are two people, where there are differing ideas, where different, like, and I've had those situations where people uh did not necessarily agree to the outcome itself.
Mm.
So for them, the outcome, yes, that was the outcome, but they were above the outcome. And that is where I will not form a relationship. They might be my supervisor. I might be answerable to them. I will do what is needed as a professional, but then I will not necessarily have a long-term relationship with them. One identifies with people who have similar mindsets or have similar goals in life, similar value systems in life. You could be poles apart in age. You could be poles apart in ethnicity, even for that matter, gender or whatever have you. But if your value systems and your ideas coordinate and connect, then there's the possibility of having a relationship, and you are willing to forego and you're forgiving of things that you do not like in that person, and you'll still continue to have a rapport with them and build and create a relationship. But if there's a disconnect with the core value sets, and in that case, you might have to be in the same spaces, in the whether it's professional or personal. You might have to, the relationship is not organic, then it's forced.
Mhm.
You're bound by either the society or the community that you are in, or by the organization that you're in.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then it's not a relationship that is natural.
But I mean, we have relationships, because we're part of the same organization often. And so when we think about conflict, the ideal is to come to the table with alignment around what we're trying to achieve, alignment that we're here for shared outcome, not necessarily a win for ourselves. And with that understanding, we can forge relationships, we can come to see each other with similarities and all of that. When that doesn't happen and there is misalignment in values and what the agendas are different, we can agree to disagree. We do the work respectfully, and we can move on. I mean, we don't have to forge lifelong friendships with everybody, right?
Yeah.
But there is a way to approach conflict with respect, and almost like an ingredient list you just gave us. Like, leave your ego at the door, understand what you're trying to achieve, and do it with respect. And think and centering always the people that you're trying to impact. And we were talking earlier about resilience and mindset. What would be sort of the lessons around resilience that you have learned in your career?
Let's start with what is it that I want to be known for?
Mm.
Um, then it was, how do I market my value proposition? Then it was, how do I prove my competence? And that specifically came, the competence pieces, when I relocated to Canada. Because here I'm in a new country, people don't know me. Yes, I have my degrees and my whatnot and my past experiences, but they've not seen me perform. So they're not willing to take a chance with me. How do I overcome that hurdle? So how do I show my value proposition? Um, um, then how do I achieve the uh, the financial worth for my skill set? How do I get there? Because that is one thing that most women, even when they are leaders, ignore.
Mm.
They compromise and they will not think about what skill set they are bringing to the table, and uh, is it at par with others, and it could be any other, in terms of remuneration. Am I at the same level with what I'm worthy of? So that, um, and more recently, I would say, and the most important one, is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Is it worth my inner peace?
Mm.
Which battles do I want to fight? So, and there have been so many others, but these are the top ones, if I was to summarize, over these past so many years of being in the professional space, that I would look at and think about and reflect on.
What would you change if you could about your career?
uh that's a good question, actually. What would I change about my career? Honestly, nothing. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not in a position to change my past. And I do not regret a single choice. And I mean it with my full heart. I'm not saying it. I do not regret a single choice that I made, um, when it comes to the path that I took. I believed at that point in time, that this was the right opportunity and career for me, and I went into it. Um, Same thing when I relocated here. Every position that I took, because earlier on it was administrative roles, and then when I relocated here, I went into a completely different field, which was employment counseling for newcomers. And I totally and truly believe that that was the right thing to do, because I saw what I could share. I saw the value that I would add to the space. And I say this with a lot of humility, but also very proud of it. I do believe I have contributed. Um, and there are a lot of people who would agree with it. And so from there, moving on into again into partnerships where there were academic and government and community partnership spaces that the roles that I played there. I think that in that time, in that moment, that was the right opportunity for me, and I see what value addition came to that particular space because I was a part of it. And then again, even now, when I'm working in the university recruitment space within RPO, I love touching the lives of young career professionals who youth who are starting their lives and are taking on new opportunities which will build their future. And I have had so many conversations where this person said, Taranum, I value what you told me, and this has really transformed the path I have chosen. Um, and that is what I live for. That puts a smile. So it's also about satisfaction, right? This gave me satisfaction. This gave me the high, the euphoria of, yes, I was able to do what I had set out to do. And if you're able to do that, then if you're able to feel that way from an opportunity, then I believe you are doing the right role that's fit for you, that's suitable for you. So once again, it's all about choosing what you want to do. And if you're able to enjoy it and that gives you happiness, that is the right role for you. That is the right role for you. And that can change. It does not have to remain the same. I have shifted so many times from one position to the other, and in different sectors and in completely different industrial spaces, from education to health science to nonprofit. And in the moment, if you are feeling it, that's the right thing. And that's what you should be choosing.
And our young people get really caught up in trying to figure out a path. And, they're going to university and they want to know they're going to study the right thing. And all of that is important, but listen to the wisdom that's being shared here. Like,
Your gut. Listen to your
yeah,
gut.
listen to your gut. It all connects. It all connects. And as long as you're building skills and learning, you're never in the wrong place, right? But do listen to your gut because it will lead you to where you need to go next.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, this is one thing I believe in. Not every person knows from the get-go that they want to be a doctor or an engineer or a career strategist or a government servant. Not everybody knows. Some people know, and good for them. Um, it's great if they knew it for themselves, but sometimes you get influenced with what people have to say. It could be your family or your teachers, or, oh, you will make a good teacher, or you will make a great doctor, or you have the skill sets to be a good engineer. You can be a good engineer, but you can also be a good artist. It doesn't have to be one or the other. One has to remember that. So sometimes you have to be able to remember to nurture yourself, nurture your spirit to be happy in the role that you're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to, you don't have to put yourself into a box or compartmentalize yourself. Just be able to flow and stay fluid um and grow. If you see growth, the minute you stop growing in a role is when you know, and that's how I knew when I was changing these professions. I knew, okay, I don't think I can contribute anything anymore. I'm at a saturation point for my learning, for myself. There's nothing new that I'm learning in the space. I'm contributing what I can. So it's not, it's not challenging me anymore. It's not fun anymore. So you can outgrow a certain role. And that's when that is when you need to know it's time to move on.
Yeah. I love that. And I know I've experienced it too. And it wasn't about when we talk about growth, a lot of people hear that and they think growing to new titles and new positions. And growth is about learning. Growth is about being challenged and stretched. And if you're not able to take on more and contribute, when I say take on more learning and contribute, then absolutely, it's time to try something new in a place where you are in a learning position, a new learning position.
100%.
Well, thank you so much for this. You know, you are so inspiring, but I want to ask you, and I ask this of everybody, um, but you started your career, the Center of Lifelong Learning, and that's what we've been hearing today. Continuous learning. Learning is growth. Learning is leadership. What is it that you are spending time on, resources, podcasts, books, things that help you to develop that mindset to continuously learn and really challenge yourself? It's not about achieving whatever other people's standards are, but achieving the standards for yourself. What resources can you share with us?
Eve, you've asked me a very interesting question. And while I can give you a whole list of, there's just so many self-help books. There's been phenomenal authors who've written about how to get better at X, Y, and Z. There are just so many podcasts out there. And I will go and name a few, but honestly, I'll keep it simple. I learn from life. I learn from every moment that I'm in. There's no better teacher than that. The situations that you are in teach you how to be better, how to cope better, how to improve your own person to be the best you in learning from observation.
Mhm.
And I think I've said this before, but for me, it is very, very important to learn what not to do, because that is the bigger learning than what to do.
Mhm.
What to do is every day. What not to do will keep you away from, it could be heartbreak, it could be making a mess at your workplace, it could be a big stumble in your path or whatever have you. In terms of outside resources, and if we talk about books, I love Daisy's book, Tell Stories and Get Hired, if you're looking
Oh,
for a
yeah.
career. Yeah, career, especially for newcomers, that's a really good resource when you're looking at that. There are some podcasts. I was featured on Max List. That's another good podcast to look at because there's a lot of HR professionals, career coaches who have shared a lot of good information um, in terms of books. There are just so many books on leadership that one can learn from.
I like the one that you mentioned, Servant Leadership was the first leadership book I read from Robert Greenleaf. And it really did shape my approach early on to leadership. And it really helped me to understand that leadership is about helping others. It's about removing obstacles and ensuring their success. It's not about you. It's a responsibility you have to help people grow. So I'm glad you had mentioned that. And I really like what you mentioned about learning from life. And what that brings to mind, what I wrote down when you said it was really being present in the moment, observing, but the way we learn from that is reflecting on that. And I don't know that we take enough time to reflect on what we've learned through the day, through the week, through the month. Because that's the way the learning comes, right? You learn something in the moment, but then when you start reflecting on it, you can figure out how you apply it to your own life and how you help yourself move forward.
For sure. For sure. It's very important. I would also like to mention um, the stories of, again, and it's very simple. It's These are books that I have also contributed to, uh, but I am inspired by stories that were of other women who had shared vulnerably about themselves and what they did to overcome. And that is the resilience piece, what they did to overcome the situations they were put into, whether those were personal or professional. Um, so self self-help books that tell personal stories are my go-to when it comes to, because you can learn life lessons from these stories big time, and you can learn either from people as in life, but you can also read or listen to them over podcasts and know what is the right thing to do.
I love that you just reminded me of Daisy's other book,
Yes,
21 Resilient Women. It's just on my bookshelf here. And yes, absolutely. The stories in there really tell about how women overcome obstacles. And it was all about resiliency, and it is a very inspiring book. So I will definitely include that in our resource list.
please do. Please do.
Thank you, Taranum. Well, it's been great chatting with you today. I really appreciate all the things that you've shared, and I'm so grateful for your time and your friendship.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.